You know what hurts the most? It's not the betrayal. It's watching the people you trusted laugh while you're falling apart. My name is Emily, and for years, I was the quiet one, the one who smiled even when things went wrong. I worked hard, helped everyone, and believed that kindness always came back. But I was wrong. It all started at my workplace, a small marketing firm where I'd spent 4 years building my reputation. I was the one who stayed late, fixed everyone's mistakes, and never asked for credit. But somehow, credit always went to Clara, my so-called best friend and coworker. She was charming, confident, and loud, everything I wasn't. When we worked together on projects, she would smile sweetly in meetings, then twist my words behind my back. I didn't know how far she'd go until the day of the promotion announcement. I'd spent months creating a campaign that doubled our clients' sales. It was my proudest work. The night before the meeting, I sent Clara the final presentation, because she wanted to proofread it. The next morning, as everyone sat around the long glass table, Clara stood up and presented my campaign as her own. I remember sitting there, frozen. My name wasn't even on the slides. She had removed it. And when the boss praised her for the brilliant concept, she smiled, directly at me. People clapped. Some laughed quietly. They thought I was overreacting when I looked hurt. They whispered that I was jealous. I stayed silent, because I didn't want to cause a scene. But something inside me broke that day. It wasn't just Clara. It was everyone. My colleagues ignored me. Even my so-called friends joined in, mocking me for being too emotional. I started eating lunch alone, sitting at the far corner of the cafeteria where no one could see the tears I hid behind my coffee cup. And then came the final straw, an office party. Clara made a toast, saying, "Some people are meant to work hard, while others are meant to shine." Everyone laughed. At me. That night, as I walked home through the cold streets, something inside me shifted. For the first time, I didn't cry. I didn't beg for fairness. I made a promise, they would never laugh at my pain again. They thought they'd broken me. But they'd just created a version of me they'd never be able to face. Revenge doesn't always start with rage. Sometimes, it begins in silence, the kind that chills the air around you. After that humiliating night, I stopped trying to fit in. I stopped explaining myself to people who had already decided I was beneath them. Instead, I started watching and listening. The office was a stage, and I'd finally realized I wasn't part of their play. But now, I was going to write my own script. Clara basked in her glory for weeks. She was promoted to creative director, given my project, my office, and my recognition. She strutted around like she owned the place. My colleagues followed her like shadows, laughing at her every joke, pretending to admire her brilliance. But what none of them noticed was that I had started keeping records. Every late-night message she sent asking me for help, every file I had designed, every draft that contained my initials buried in the metadata, I kept it all. Because one day, I knew I would need proof. And then, like fate, an opportunity arrived. Our company landed a massive client, a luxury brand that could double our firm's revenue. Clara was assigned as the lead. But of course, she couldn't handle the work alone. She came to me, with her fake smile. "You're so good with visuals. Can you help me polish the design before the client meeting?" I smiled back, for the first time in months. "Of course, Clara. Anything for the team." Inside, I was already building the trap. Over the next 3 weeks, I worked day and night, creating a flawless campaign. But this time, I didn't just design. I built my name into the work, invisible, yet undeniable. Hidden signatures in the file layers, metadata trails, and timestamps that proved everything was mine. When the final presentation came, Clara walked into the boardroom wearing her victory smile. She took full credit, again. But this time, I didn't flinch. I watched as the CEO nodded, impressed. Then, just before she could finish her speech, he turned to me. Revenge, when it finally comes, doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it whispers. And those whispers echo louder than any scream. After the presentation incident, the office atmosphere shifted overnight. Whispers about Clara's mistakes spread like wildfire. People who once ignored me now smiled awkwardly in the hallway, pretending they'd never laughed at me. But I wasn't done. Because the truth had only begun to surface, and I was about to pull the last thread. A week later, I received an email from the luxury brand CEO. He wanted to meet privately. My hands trembled as I read his message. "We were impressed by your creative strategy, Emily. We'd like to discuss a direct collaboration." Direct collaboration. Not through the firm, directly with me. When I walked into that sleek glass building, I wasn't the quiet, broken girl anymore. I was calm, composed, and finally seen. The client offered me a position as their lead creative consultant, double my salary, full credit for the campaign, and creative freedom. It was everything I had ever wanted. I handed in my resignation the next morning. Clara's eyes widened when she saw me drop the letter on her desk. "You can't leave now," she whispered, panicked. "We have the next project meeting." I smiled. "You'll do great, Clara. You always said some people are meant to shine." That was the last time I ever saw her. Within a month, the firm lost the luxury brand contract. The truth about Clara's lies spread online after a leaked email surfaced. Not from me, but from one of her old teammates who finally had enough. She was quietly let go. The same colleagues who once mocked me now whispered about her. As for me, I thrived. I bought my own small studio, hired a few kind people who actually believed in teamwork, and built something I could be proud of. But the sweetest part of my revenge wasn't success. It was peace. I realized revenge wasn't about making them suffer. It was about taking back the power they once made me believe I didn't have. I didn't need to humiliate anyone. I just needed to rise so high that their laughter couldn't reach me anymore. Now, when I look back at those days, the whispers, the laughter, the loneliness, I don't feel pain. I feel gratitude. Because if they hadn't broken me, I would have never learned how to rebuild myself stronger. So if you've ever been laughed at, humiliated, betrayed, remember this. You don't have to fight dirty to win. Sometimes, the best revenge is just becoming everything they said you couldn't be.